Hello, and welcome to another The Prince Paint stream. So, slightly different setup to last week. Going to try this one out, see if it works. Please ignore all the trash behind me. Well, it's not trash, it's my belongings, but you know. So today, we're going to be doing another little painting stream. Hopefully, as well, we've got a better shot, a better angle here this time. So we should be able to, and immediately it's not going to focus now. I definitely practiced this earlier, and oh, there we go. Okay, so hopefully this time round, we're going to have some nice angles for you to look at. Just before we crack on with the painting, I thought I'd show you as well how the one that we did last week turned out. Okay, so here it is. So I keep, again, I'm going to have to apologise that I'm not always looking at this camera because my screen is over here. Oh, my screen is over here and the other camera's here, and I want to make sure I'm getting good angles. So I will apologise in advance. I'm not always talking directly to you guys. But that's just part and parcel with me experimenting with different setups. Also, apologies that the stream is a little later. There were some technical issues, partly with me faffing around, really, with different setups to try and get good angles, etc. So, before we crack on, this, by the way, is the model we're going to do. And I'll quickly say that what I'm thinking is we'll make this one in the same colour scheme. It's from the same set of STL files that I 3D printed. We'll do this in the same colour scheme that we did the one last week, as I was a big fan of that, and in a second I'll show you how that one turned out and you can see for yourselves. And I think that the two of them, because they are both like Dwarven warriors, one male, one female, I think it'd look really nice if they were like twinned in those colour schemes, so they're part of the same army. Okay, so without further ado then, this one as well, we're going to have a crossbow, which is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to trying to paint that. But real quickly, how did last week's go? How did it look when it dried? So, here we go. All right. I think it came out pretty well, to be honest. I'm pleased with it. I don't really have any problems or issues. Let's make this a bit brighter and change some of the hues on it. I can probably, there we go, that's a bit better. There we go. So you can see that it's actually come out pretty well. Like, I'm happy with how that has come out. I can't really, there's obviously, like I said last week, you're always going to be your own worst enemy when it comes to doing things like this, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. I think it's part of the process of being a creative, or just trying to do something that puts you maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone, where there is that element of risk, of failure, or something like that. But it's going to focus again. I wonder if we'll have the same problem where it keeps trying to focus on the things behind it this week, which is something, again, I'll just have to keep working on. This stream, setting it up is a lot trickier than it is setting up the other, there we go, than it is setting up the regular gaming streams. So you have to bear with me from time to time with it. I might need to just adjust, so this camera's going to get real wobbly. That's because I need to adjust it just slightly. Try and get it a little bit. That didn't really that didn't really move up, did it? Get it a bit looser. Try and tighten it up here, and then it should sink a little bit, and hopefully, there we go. Much better, much better. Okay, so yeah, you can see there all the details, like that wash that we put on it, the dark wash, I really do think made a lot of the difference. If we get a nice good close up on him, you can see like on the skin. You remember when I said last week that one of the things that the dark wash does is it sinks into a lot of the gaps, a lot of the smaller details that you might have painted over or aren't clear because it's all like a block color. So what the dark wash does is it then sinks into those cracks and crevices, and when it dries, it highlights. That's what it does. It highlights. So you can see like the fingers, for example, the fingers that he's holding. The reason why they're easily defined now is because of the dark wash. It's where it's settled in between each finger and dried. Similarly, the sort of patterning on the shoulder, on the armor plates on the shoulders, again, like the drying, the dark wash has dried in there and helped emphasize those, and that goes as well. It just makes everything look perhaps a little bit more aged, a little bit more worn. And to sort of touch on what I was saying earlier, you're always your own worst critic. There was something that I realized not long after doing this last week, where I thought, do you know what? If I was to do this again, and there's nothing to stop me from doing this now, like adding these highlights in, and I might do that later on, possibly, probably off stream though, because I feel like we've sort of finished with this. But the feet, if you look at the shoes, there's a little rim. Let's get a paintbrush so I can point it out easier. You can see there's like this little rim here, and I think we should have painted that silver, so that it's much more in line with like the rim of a lot of the other stuff, where that edging on the plate armor is silver, whereas the main body of it is that sort of bronzy color. And I think that's something that we definitely could have done here. But, like I said, you're always going to be your own worst critic. And it's really easy, like, you'll do these things, you think, oh yeah, this is great, I've finished now, I'm done. And then you will spot stuff. You will see stuff that you're like, oh, I probably should have done that, or I hope it's not too late for me to do that, or, any host of those sort of things. But anyway, suffice to say, oh, and one more thing as well. You can sort of see the eye, like I think it's an eye. Like what I think this is, it almost looks like a bird of some kind. I might be wrong, but this symbol again is nice and clear because of the dark wash. Because the dark wash sunk into it and has done that. And the same can be said. See if I can find a good angle where the light catches them. But the runes that are on the clasps here, like just there, they have come out really nicely. You can see it on the back as well, where he's got runes hanging off of his belt. Again, that dark wash has really done a lot to highlight those, and it's given as well the horn that he's got that sort of more rugged, maybe a little bit dirty look. It's not like pristine, but because remember we used the skeleton bone color, and the dark wash has sort of given it this much more. Ivory's the wrong word because it's not. It's like a horn, isn't it? So it'd be more like keratin, I guess, like that sort of horn material, whatever you want to call that. As sort of, I think the dark wash has helped a lot to produce that effect. It really, really brings a lot of the stuff to life. Similarly, I'm not sure how easy it is to see. Lighting is something that I'm also going to be working on as well. But the actual shield itself, let's see if I can get a good. Let's see if I can find. Hang on, I know what I can do. I've got sort of a light that I can use. There we go. So you can see the dark wash has given it this almost stained look. Like it's not pristine metal. It's not just crafted. It's a bit dirty, a bit grimy maybe. And again, I think the dark wash really has helped to do that. And you can see now a lot clearer like how it's sort of come on out. Let's refocus. There we go. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. It's not perfect, and there's certainly more highlights that I could do if I wanted to do. Like there's nothing to stop me from trying to do those at a later date as well. But for today, as I said, we're going to start on a brand new model. So without further ado, let's start that. Right, so let's take this one off, pop it back up here with my growing collection. I'm slowly working through my grey shame of printed resin models that I haven't painted. I'm actually taking a bit of a break from 3D printing so that I can try and catch up. So I've not just got this sort of army of grey coloured prints. I'm trying to paint them and work through them all, so that they look a bit more lively. Anyway, onto this painting then. So again, we've primed it, just a regular grey primer spray paint can. Army Painter's version, their own one of it, and it's obviously all dried and stuff now. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the last video, so I'll mention it now in this one. It's really important when you are doing miniature painting, you do actually prime the model before you paint it, because when it comes to painting, you'll find with a lot of resin cast models and or printed or even plastic, like the ones that you'll get in kits where you have to assemble them yourself, you'll find that it's very smooth and the acrylic paint struggles to cling or stick to it when you're painting it on. It's much more likely to run or just run off. And you spread it around and it will become thin because it's got nothing to cling to, if that makes sense. So what you do, when you're priming, is you sort of hold the spray can maybe 15 centimeters away, and you just sort of waft it. Like you don't just hold it on and spray. You waft it sort of from side to side, move it from side to side quite quickly, making sure that you get a good covering, moving the model around as needed to make sure you've got that covering evenly over it. And what you're aiming for is almost like a bobbling effect. And that's what you achieve by, instead of just holding it solid, you'll create like a slick layer. By doing it side to side very quickly, you're only letting small particulates of the primer paint stick to it and cling to it, and it creates almost like a slightly coarser, rougher, bobbly surface layer on it, and that's what the acrylic paint will then stick to. So that's what you want to be doing with all of your miniatures before you start painting. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems, I'm afraid. Oh, I should also say, I feel like I say this in every stream, and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because anyone in the UK knows what I'm talking about. It is exceptionally hot, and unfortunately, the fan that I have in my room is too loud to have on when I'm streaming. So I cooled my room down as much as I could, and now it's going to be a gradual heat up, where I probably become redder and redder. Just thought I'd throw that out there. It is way too hot though. It is ridiculous. Anyway, so I'm actually going to bring down again that model that we did last week, so I can use it as a point of reference for the colour scheme that I want here. Now, last week, I believe we did start straight away with the metal, with the bronze. So let's get our Dwarven bronze paint. There we go. Dwarven bronze paint, so we'll give that a good shake. Because again, it's really important as well that most of the acrylic paints that you get for miniature painting are they have a what are they called? They have a chemical in them that stops them from sort of setting in the bottle, and then it can separate out when you leave them to stand for long periods. So they separate out, and you have to give them a really good shake before you can use them to make sure that you've set medium. That's it. There's a separating medium in there that helps keep the paint fresh and stops it from, as I say, drying out, etc. And once you've cracked it open, and one of the things that you can do, and I'd highly recommend it as well, a lot of the paints that you get now, I think Army Painters come with them by default, is you get ball bearings, and all you got to do is I think I did it last week on stream with the colour and ended up spilling the paint everywhere, but that's fine. You pop one in, and then that just helps. It just makes it so much easier to shake it up and get that coloration. Oh my goodness, that's all bubbling out, but that's okay. Okay, so get a nice dollop on there. Give that a little wipe. Okay, and we can begin. Now, which paintbrush do we want to use to begin with? Again, I would suggest, like, you don't have to spend loads of money on paintbrushes. Like these, I mean, as I said, I've not done this for very long at all. So I just bought a set of um, like synthetic brushes. They're not, the sort of fancier ones. So I'm not too bothered. It only cost me like £13 for I don't know, it must be like 9 or 10 brushes, all different sizes. And they work great. I've not really got any complaints about them. Um I found them to be really, really, really good. Um Now I'm actually struggling to remember what which one we did last week. So I'll tell you what, we'll start off with this one here. Um I think this should do, as it's more of a general layer that we're doing at the moment. So I'll wet that. Make sure that this is in focus. Come on, camera, do your thing. Come on, camera, do your thing. Which you don't seem to want. There we go. That's the ticket. Right. It's slightly more cramped. So I've swept my brush. So the setup that I'm trying this week is slightly more cramped for me. But I'm hoping it should provide a much easier viewing for you. So you'll have to let me know what it's like from your point of view and if it works. But without further ado, let's get paint to model and get going. So again, I'm just going to go with like the solid bronze color over here. Okay. And again, I'm not, like I said last week, we can correct, like this is the first layer. So you don't have to worry too much about things getting, sticking within the lines. I think that's what I said last week. Staying within the lines. It's like a 3D coloring sort of activity, I guess. So yeah. Again, I'm going to have to apologize because the camera I've got here, in fact, this one I can actually move, so I might be able to dip it down a bit more so that when I am leaning over and concentrating, you can see it. Unfortunately, though, it is going to make it very clear just how much I'm sweating in my room that is currently 27 degrees. So I can do naught but apologize for that, but it is very, very warm today. So pray for me. Right, so yeah, I'm gonna get this in here. And occasionally I will, for your sake and my own, to be fair, keep like dabbing myself so I don't look like a mess. More of a mess, should I say, on the stream. So now I'm gonna start doing this side, spreading that paint around, being quite liberal again, and not worrying loads anyway about sticking between those lines. Because when we start to add details on, when we go over maybe a few extra layers in some areas, we can just paint over any of those lines that we have not stuck within. Use a different colour or something. Okay. Make sure that we got some paint on here. And this model, I did try and check it. There isn't as much. Now, do you know what is weird? And I wonder if anyone actually knows what this is. I'd be interested to know. I've not bothered to look it up myself. But when you apply the spray paint, sometimes you get these sort of strands or stringy bits. I'm not sure what that is because it doesn't seem to be the paint. Perhaps it's something that's in there, like to help. 'Cause obviously, it's a canister, isn't it? It's pressurized. So I'm wondering if it's got something to do with that. But really, I don't know. I'm just mindlessly pontificating whilst I'm painting. Okay, so we have forgotten to do. There's a tiny little lip. Oh, make sure that is in focus. There we go. There's a tiny little lip just here. Not done. Just apply a little bit of paint there. Okay. So yeah, you can already see I've sort of maybe gotten a little bit on the hair, but I'm not going to worry about that because we'll be going over that in, and I think we'll do ginger like we did on the dwarf, the other dwarf, should I say, last week, so that they are sort of matching in that way because I really like the idea of that. So that's probably what we will do. I mean, we might try and vary. I'm not probably not going to be able to recreate the exact coloration, but that's fine because not everyone's hair color, not every, in this instance, ginger person is um, this exact same color as someone else. So, okay, right, that's that done. Now, what else have we got? What else have we got here? So this, I'm looking around. There is plate on here, much like the last one. I'm going to use that as my reference. Okay, so we do have a lot of these, like much like the other one. Like you can actually see if I sort of pop it next to it, the back here. Ooh, it's precarious. You can see that we have a very similar layout. We've got the sort of underlayer here that's probably fabric of some description, much like we've done on here. And then we've got the sort of plate that sits just on top of it to give that protection, in this case to the crossbowman. So we'll be aiming to recreate something like that here. So again, let's start adding some paint. And again, straight away, falling out of the lines. That's fine. That's something we can correct later. I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm not going to think, oh damn it, it's ruined now. I can't do that. I'm just going to keep going. Because like I said last week, you're best off steering into it. You just, I guess, I don't know. This is where I've taken out here. This is where the focus challenge really. Here we go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Because I need the light to hit it at different angles so that I can see properly what I'm doing. Now it seems like here there's actually a horn on the front this time. I think that's what that is. Of some description. It's hard to see, but just under the arm there. It is actually quite difficult to see. I'm not even 100% sure it is a horn, but there is something under the arm there that's blocking some of that plate. So I've just got a little bit of paint that runs around whatever this is, and we'll do a little bit of a closer look later. I also, like I said, I might actually try and help with the light situation because I am actually struggling a little bit to see it, and you really want it to be as illuminated as possible to help with you when you're applying the colours. Okay. So again, you can see around here, I'm going to be applying paint around here. And much like the other dwarf, there are runes hanging on her belt, which is something that we'll do in like that dark silvery colour that we made last week. We'll do a similar thing this week. Okay, let's make sure we're colouring it in as best that we can. Now, I'm actually going to get these. I was mentioning those stringy bits. There's actually a couple on here that I'm going to try and remove because it's actually getting in the way of me painting. So I'm just going to try and move them. That should do it. Okay. Back into the spotlight. Where are we? Okay. Just there, that was it. This tiny little bit here. Don't know why my voice got quieter as I went into this this smaller bit. But hey ho. So I'm just going to do that again. I'm thinking that I might have to again work on where the the face cam is, because I keep looking over and seeing nothing but like a startlingly white forehead. So my apologies for that. Again, this is a work in progress. Um, I'm still experimenting with different ways of how the stream is set out. But to be honest, it's not really about my face, this one. It's more about what I'm actually doing on here. So let's rotate this around a little bit so that we've not just got the big old like edges of this miniature holder in blocking the shot. There we go. So at the moment, I'm just started doing this front bit here. Okay. Let's see. How was that looking? Oh, we went out of focus again. There we go. Ooh. Oh. Sorry, I was just checking. Messaged some people about the stream, and some of them responding saying they might try and dip in if they can. Which is always nice. So yeah. Just oh my god, it's so swelteringly warm in this room. I think it's just hit 28. Oh. And don't forget to do these edges. Remember, this is 3D. You don't just want to colour the top. You want to do the sides and the edges, and maybe even the back if you can. There we go. That's that sorted, easy peasy. So we've done that there, we've done that there. Now, this looks like... Sorry, I pulled it out of shot because I wanted to get a really close look myself. Let's see if we can focus it here. A little bit further back. So you can sort of see that there is a difference here with the chest piece. Also, you remember that the last one, a lot of the chest was covered by the beard, the braided beard. So this one isn't. However, there's the big crossbow in the way. So I'm going to actually have to put the paint down behind it, behind the crossbow, and sort of very carefully. You'll hopefully be able to see me doing this. Very carefully try and do this. Stay in focus. There we go. Okay, let's now try and do the breastplate best we can on this angle. Just trying to get a covering of that. Oof, that's maybe a bit too much paint on my brush there. You do want to be careful. I have a habit of not wiping down my brush after dipping it in the paint all the time, which some people would say was like a sin. um, but I think I'm quite good at getting the amount of paint that I usually want to apply at that time. Like I just dip a teeny tiny amount, usually. Right. So again, on the back here, around the hair. Okay. And I can see that I've actually missed the edges here. I'm just going to go over those again, making sure that I've got... Oh, slipped out of shot again. My apologies. Again, this is as much as the actual painting itself is, the streaming is a process, a learning process. So you will have to bear with me whilst I am getting my grips with how to do it right. See, look here. The problem is that this is quite long. So when I'm turning it that way, it's focusing on here and not on the actual model. So let's see if I can maybe tilt it a little bit, so that we've still got it in focus. And you can see actually as well, if you think about the model that we did last week, like how bright this bronze actually looks without the dark wash. It looks very, like it's too clean, and that's just not how the armor itself would look. You know, there would be dark areas, it would be, sorry, again, just slipping into a moment of focus. Try and get that done. There we go. Okay. So that is, I think, a lot of the armor done. So obviously, unlike the one that we did last week, where it was very heavily clad and he's wearing a helmet, obviously this model, she is she's not. She's open faced, which is going to be interesting because I am pretty rubbish at faces. The other stuff I think I'm okay at, but faces are going to be tough. It's going to be hard for me to paint that. So you know, we will see. We will see. I'm just going to double check. Oof, right. Okay. Sorry, I keep thinking that maybe I've got something in the stream, but it's actually I saw an old friend last night. He's lived in Japan for the last 4 years. I haven't seen him since he moved, and he's been back in Beverly for a week. So I have spent some time with him. It was really nice, actually, really really nice. Yeah, so shoes. That's what we're gonna do next. Shoes. So again, gonna be a little bit liberal here, as they are just going to be like solid bronze with maybe some highlights, and we might put the highlights on this one, whereas we didn't on the other one last week. Yeah, let's just paint up these shoes. There we go. Okay, slide that in. Oh, sorry. Again, veering off. It's because you start to get locked in. You start to really really focus in on what it is, what particular area you're painting at that moment, and so my hand sometimes slips. So I do apologise. Try and keep it in front of the camera for as much and as long as I can, and hopefully it'll be in focus. Okay. On that shoe. Make sure there's a nice ample layer of that on there, which there seems to be now. We got one shoe done. We'll do the other. Okay. So can be quite liberal here. It's a solid colour. No need to. And again, no need to panic or become frustrated. You might even be able to see, or at least you know, I'm getting some of this paint is actually going onto the base, but I'm not bothered. You know, I'm not bothered. We'll do the base last. That's what I tend to do anyway. I much prefer to do the base last, as it is. Well, it's more like the finishing touch, isn't it? Because the main piece is the actual model, and the base is just what sort of grounds it, I guess. Yeah, and at some point, probably not on these ones because the bases are clearly sort of a concrete sort of whatever floor that they're stood on, but I do have some flock as well, so there will be times in the future where I'm also going to be putting flock on, and I can show you just how good flock can look. The models that I've used flock on have immediately just popped. Like, it really gives them a sense of realism, having that fake grass or whatever it is in there. Really, really helps sell the sort of realism of the model. Now there is, I think, a tiny bit in here near the, there we go. Got it. There we go. That is it. Well, you've got most of the metal done. Done there. Okay. Let's just do a little recce, little look around. Make sure that there is nowhere that I have missed. There's a little bit there. There we go. Yeah, I think that's mostly all the bits that we need done. Ah, here. Near the top of this bit. I did the bit that was easy to see, and I've realised I've actually missed the bit where it links to the belt at the top. Okay, so we'll just a little bit more of that. There we go. There we go. And I think what we'll do as well is we'll go for a wooden look on the crossbow when it comes to doing it. But I'm just looking now to see if there's any bits that will be metal, but to be honest, I might do those as more of a steely grey colour. There is some armbands. Let's paint those up as well. And then that is probably going to be it for the bronze paint for now, anyway, until we come back later to touch up on a few areas. Until then, so you can see we have the, I think that is a horn that we've got under there. Sorry. There we go. That is a horn we've got under there. We also have the back of the crossbow, the stock, if you like. Just creeping out under that, the back of that arm. I'm going to stick my paintbrush down here to try and paint the back of this, because there is a gap here. You can't really see, but behind, you might see, you sort of see my paintbrush slipping out of view as it goes into this bit that's like between the back of the armband on this sort of underside of the underside of the wrist. There we go. I think that's done there. And then there is obviously as well one on this arm as well. So we'll let that focus in a bit, see if we can catch it in the light. Maybe. I mean, you'll see it once I colour it, so that might be the easiest way to go with it. I'll colour it, give it a quick splash of the bronze. Oof, oh, this is a bit tricky, this. Getting it around, in and around the crossbow strings without trying to colour them in, because the bronze might be, because it's a darker and a bright shiny colour, it might be harder to paint over. So I'm trying to be quite careful with my application of the bronze on this arm piece. Again, it's probably come out of view. Let's move us back over here. There we go. Part of the reason why I think I keep pulling it away as well is because, like I said, this is quite a cramped setup that I've got this time. Please bear with me. It is all to try and make the viewing experience better. I realise it might not always work out like that, but it's what I'm aiming for anyway. Okay. Now, is there any areas that I have? Ah, yes, there is. I can just spot one there. You're not going to be able to see this bit, unfortunately, and that's because of the angle I've got to put it at to actually paint it. It's just on the underside. Anyway, it was the join up There we go. Okay. So we've now got, I think, now, anyway, all of the actual plated armor bits done. So next we can move on to hair. Let's pop that in there. Just gonna wipe my face down a little bit. Have a quick drink, because that is important to stay hydrated during heat waves. I'm probably dehydrated right now. I have a bottle of water behind me I'm going to be getting in a minute. I also definitely needed some sugar and salt after my night last night, so that's why I've got a nice old can of Pepsi, not sponsored. The salt obviously didn't come from this. The salt came from what I had to eat just before the stream. It was bacon. Anyway, now I believe we went for the orange rust colour last time. Found it, rust monster colour. So again, we're going to give it a good shake. Make sure that medium gets mixed in nicely. Oh, whoa, that came apart. There's this orange. This happened last week. It's just like exploding out. It is like of its own accord. It's just like I've got it upright and it's spewing out. It's a bit annoying. It's a bit wasteful, but hey ho. I think maybe sometimes it's to do with the consistency. Maybe I'm shaking it too much or whatever, but I'd rather it be shaken really well than not well enough. And I haven't really used much of the orange anyway, so I'm not overly fussed about losing a little bit. There we go. We have now got more than enough, though, for all of this hair. Let's pop the orange back. And then let's continue. Yeah, put that there. Just use it. It's always handy to have kitchen roll or something like that around. You also might notice that I've got a towel. I use a towel like this. This is it's a towel. Just an old one, like an old like hand towel, something like that, because I can just put all my paints out on here and know that if I make a mistake, if I make a mess, for example, like in the stream I did last week where the rust orange exploded everywhere. If I hadn't had that towel there, my desk would have been covered in paint. So it is helpful to have something like that, whether it be you have a really large. You also can just make out. I've got a like a craft board, one of the self-healing ones that I do a lot of it on as well, just to give me a firm surface to place stuff on, because obviously the towel is soft. So that helps. You could just have a massive one of those. I don't have the space for a huge one, so I've just got an A4 sized one, and then I put the towel underneath it so that there is room for mistakes. Okay, so next then, the hair. The hair. And again, we're just going to go with orange. We're just going to do this base layer of orange, and then much like we did last time, we'll do this now, because then we can give it time to set so that later on we can go back over it with some red highlights to really give it that sort of deeper tone. I've already spotted some bits that we'll need to go back over later with some more bronze around the bottom of the hair. For now, that's fine. Okay. Oh, sorry. Once more, the prince has not had it angled right. There we go. There we go. making sure that we're getting that orange on all of the hair, around the corners, in the crevices, making sure that I'm like following those twists and turns of the braids so that it isn't just like a two-dimensional coating with like bits of grey on the sides. Go around all of it. There we go. You can sort of see that. I'm just going to do the top of the head now. It's also wise to make sure as well that the layer that you put on is thick enough that you don't have that grey coming through. But it's also not the end of the world if it does, because I said when we add those highlights, those red highlights later on, that should get rid of any of the grey that still remains, like shining through it. So we've also got a tiny little wisp of hair that comes down at the front. You also might have seen that I have coloured in some of her skin orange, but again, that is fine. It can all be fixed later on when we do the skin. Whoops. I need to. Oh, I know what I could do. There we go. There's a wire. You can't see it, but there's a wire, and that's why my hand keeps drifting off over here. But I've wrapped my hand around the wire to try and prevent that, so that I have to lean forward instead of pulling the model towards me. Which means you get another lovely shot of my sweaty forehead, but you get to see, you can actually see what I'm doing, which is the whole point of this. So, oh, just get that little bit there, and a little bit in there. There we go. Right, okay. So I think that is much of the hair done, or at least the first coat anyway. So that's a good point for us to sort of leave it. I'm quite happy with the coverage I've gotten, and I'll come back to it. Now I am really going to I'm going to do this real quick whilst I remember, and just fill in those little bits of bronze that I missed earlier, so that I don't get distracted by doing other details and completely forget. So we need some bronze around here. We actually are going to need some bronze in the middle of the hair, and this is going to be really quite tough to do. Oof, there we go. There we go. I think I managed to do that without actually getting bronze on the hair, so that's good. Right. Good. Oh, there's a tiny little bit here as well. Could just do with a touch up. There we go. Nice. That is looking good. I do say so myself. I'm happy with how it's going so far. Okay, so next it's probably going to be those browns that we have in this model on the sort of underneath the armor bits. You can see like we've done a lot of the armor bits now we're going to start doing some of the finer details, the smaller details, and get some of those browns on the go. So let's plonk this back on its stand. And then let's start mixing some browns together. So what browns? Now I actually probably should have recorded which browns I was using last week so that I could recreate it perfectly, but I didn't because I didn't think that far ahead. So you will have to bear with me. I think we had, let's go with Minotaur hide. Oh no, I think it was rigid leather and owlbear brown maybe that we went for. So let's see what rigid leather looks like. Give it a good shake. Okay. Okay. We got that brown there. Now I think that maybe we mixed either we mixed some black into the rigid leather colour, or we used owlbear brown, but I can't remember which. So I'm going to put a bit of owlbear brown on just to sort of visually see the colour. Really give that a good shake. Oh goodness me, it looks like it's exploded inside the lid. There we go. Now I think, now I've seen that we did in fact, I'm going to need to dab some of this paint out. Just wipe that a little bit. Can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just mopping up some of the excess paint that we've got oozing out of the owlbear brown. So I think we did have a black. So let's grab our black. Black and white, incredibly useful when it comes to mixing. Obviously, you can darken or lighten anything because they're shades, not colours. And so you can just use them as an additive to pretty much anything else to change the pigment and the tone. Really useful, really versatile. If you don't have a black and white, get a black and white. You need it. I probably use the blacks and whites more overall, whilst not. I mean, I do the base itself, like the underneath and the rim of the base in black, because I think it looks smart. But you do find that the black is just incredibly useful, and the white, like I said, for mixing. So whilst you don't use them for that colour, you use them with so many other different things. Cool, right, awesome. We've got some black now. Make sure our paintbrush is washed. Get rid of the excess water. And then I'm wondering if yeah, I think it was the rigid leather. We went for the underneath, the undercoat, if you like. Oh, so I keep glancing back as well to check what the temperature is in my room. It feels like it's getting hotter still, which is not pleasant. Not pleasant at all. But I enjoy making content more. So whilst I am literally dripping, I am happy to be painting for you guys. So, you know, it's swings and roundabouts. It's a weird turn of phrase, that, isn't it? Swings and roundabouts. Again, I'm not super bothered. I probably sound like a broken record at this point. I'm not super bothered if some of this brown is slipping up onto the bronze or onto the bottom bit, or where the studs are at the bottom of the jacket. That doesn't really matter. because we can just go over it again in those colours later on. Okay, right. Lovely. Oh, whoopsie. I moved my arm. That's exactly what happened there. I moved my arm from around the wire, and that's how I ended up pulling it off shot again. Let's try and keep it here. I also think I might need to add an additional light because I'm struggling to see a little bit. Like that you will find with miniature painting, like if you're someone that uses glasses, you need to use them. Don't try and do like and also give yourself rests as well. I spent a good 6 hours one day without breaks, just painting, and my eyes felt a little bit, I guess, not strained. They're just tired because you are looking at really, really, really small details a lot of the time, and you're having to focus quite a bit. But there we go. Where you can see, we've got that brown layer coming in nicely. Okay. Just going over a few bits where I think it could do with just a little bit of extra paint on it. To really give that brown. My hands are shaking a little bit. I'm a little bit tired today. So making it just slightly harder, but that's okay. Right, now. We'll also, let's have a look and see what we did on here. Okay, so we did pale brown as well, that rigid leather colour on these arm bits. I don't know if you can see if we can, let's plonk it down. We can probably do this bit whilst it's like that. Get it in focus. There we go. These arm bits here. A bit of brown there, and then we'll do a dark brown on the rim. Just got to get that on there. Give that a little lick of paint. And then the same on this side as well. And on this side, there's actually a lot more of it exposed. So load our brush up with a little bit more than we had. Make sure the shot focuses. There we go. There we go. Okay, and unfortunately, it's not super duper in focus. Not in focus, sorry, in a lit area, so it's a bit difficult to see what I'm doing, I'm afraid. I can show you it in a moment once it's done. It will be worth it. Always worth it. The other thing is still be, I mean, I know I'm like, don't be afraid to challenge yourself. If you want to switch things up, I could have done a completely different color scheme for this one, but I just really like the idea that they are like from the same unit or battalion or whatever. So that's a nice sort of image or whatever, and so that's what I'm going to go for. Now, when it comes to the crossbow, we'll do a different brown, and we'll do the crossbow's probably going to be one of the last things that we do. We'll try and get as much of the rest of it done before that point. I've actually seen as well that there is some plate that comes out over the back of her palm. So like this part of the hand here, there's a bit of plate that comes out like that. So I'm going to need to colour that bronze as well that I've just seen. And this is all the kind of all the stuff that you sort of spot when you're doing this. You will notice as you're going through, you're like, oh, I missed this bit. Oh, I should add this bit there. Oh, I didn't do that bit. And that's, again, it's fine. There's no point really where you're going to be like, oh, sugar, I literally, I can't fix that. You can. It might be challenging, it might be a bit difficult, and it might be a bit time consuming, but you can almost always fix these little mistakes that you make when you're doing this. Because this is, it is a high focus skill. And it's fine painting. You ultimately this works your fine motor skills. So this is really good if you are someone that has got like unsteady hands or something like that. I would suggest like if you want to work on that skill, because your fine motor skills are really important. Use them a lot. It's used for writing, and for example, I'm a terrible writer. Like, don't get me wrong, my spelling, punctuation, and grammar is great, but my actual handwriting is shocking because for whatever reason I struggle with that motor control in my arms, in my hands, sorry. But doing activities like this regularly can help strengthen those well, I say strengthen, it's more like fine tune those muscles so that they're steadier, they're more used to being used in very small, subtle ways. And a lot of the smaller muscles that don't often get used because you use like gross motor skills, which are the larger movements, like hand waving, wrist moving, whatever, much more gross, which means like big, larger, or whatever, um, as opposed to those fine ones, those ones that require tiny little movements. So if you are someone that struggles with that kind of thing, this might be a hobby to help with that. Admittedly, I've only been doing this for about probably getting on for a month now. And I haven't really written much, so I don't really know how much of effect it's had. But it just, I imagine it would. I don't see why it wouldn't. You're practicing fine motor skills, which is really a key skill in a lot of areas. It's like using a knife that requires fine motor skills and things like that. And so it's really important that you do keep these skills in check and you do keep them trained up. And obviously, there are jobs that entirely revolve around it. I mean, look at surgeons. Surgeons have got some of the best fine motor skills that going, because if they slip up, well, you know, you don't often hear about surgeons making mistakes, and that's because they have that level of skill that they've practiced and owned and done whatever. I mean, I know that like my parents worked in the NHS, and they both have memories of doing things like suturing. Suturing is like they're like stitches. Suturing like oranges and like tangerines and stuff like that, like where you make a cut in it and then they actually suture the cut back together so that they can practice those skills. Um, so yeah, right. I think that's a lot of that brown done. I'm just sort of looking around, having a quick glance, making sure that there's nothing that I've missed. But I think that's most of the brown done for those bits anyway. So now we can start mixing paint. So we're going to get a big dollop of that brown that we've been using, that rigid brown. I'm going to get some black, chuck that in there. And that creates a really nice darker tone, maybe a little bit more black. And that tone is going to be what we do the bottom bit. I'm actually going to, I just want it to be nice and dark. I'm actually going to add even more black to it. There we go. And this is what I was, referring to earlier about the importance of, let's put my hand under the wire so I'm not tempted to pull it away, and I will lean in and you get a nice close-up look of my sweaty face. Bit too much on the brush. Wipe off the excess, and then we can start painting between those. Again, unfortunately, in fact, we can probably actually do this from here. That won't be a problem. Do that. I'm just gonna put a nice little dash of it between each of these sort of metal pins. Now I did make an error there. I accidentally just put a splash, touch my paint to the lighter brown. That's not a problem. We'll go over it again later. It shouldn't matter too much. Now, there we go. Let's see what I'm doing a bit better now. You can see I'm adding that darker colour to the bottom like we did on the male dwarf. Doing the same on this model so that they match. But to be honest, you don't have to. I mean, yes, ideally I would have done a better job because it's been so hot. The wet palette I've got is actually just drying out in sometimes a day. And if I forget to add more water to the wet palette and the paint's on it dry, and that's basically what happened. I opened the palette this morning hoping that they'd still be good, and fortunately it was all dry. So I'm having to do all the colours from scratch again. But that's okay because a lot of them I can remember. Like obviously the bronze is easy, but the colors that you mix, obviously it's going to be very difficult for you to recreate that as like exactly the same as you did. But again, that's 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 fine because there are variations in even when you buy, particularly in the in like a medieval high fantasy medieval setting. Even if you have like the same piece of armor or gear or clothing or whatever, it's not like now where we have mass production and we're real focus on quality and ensuring quality, the same quality in all products. There would have been an individual element to a lot of these garments, so I think it works fine. I think it's absolutely fine. We're not going to have exactly the same colours. So I pulled it out of shot because I want to get a really close look. But I will pull it back in a second. Oh, okay. Okay. And where else do we have that dark brown? We had that dark brown on the rims, or the edges, should I say, of the jacket. So just here, see if we can get it in focus. There we go. You can see I've just started to add some, just about. Anyway, adding a brown here. When I go for the break, I might go and grab one of my photography lights and just put it in the background, and that might help with the visuals. The light is not great in here. Unfortunately, I've not opened. Last week I had my my blinds and curtains and stuff open and letting in natural light, but I've been trying to stop my the temperature in this room from just skyrocketing. Unfortunately, that means I've got it closed. As this sort of are saying, like if you want to keep the room cooler, keep blinds shut so the sun can't just beat straight in. And where my room, which is where I do this, is situated in relation to the sun, means that it literally just starts to cook like a greenhouse. I have it open. Okay, so we've done that. Yeah. Right, we'll add some more on this side. Again, making sure to do those under bits as well. Get that in focus. There we go. Oh. Come on, camera, you can do it. Okay. Nice. I am happy with that and how it's looking. So what I'll do now then is I'm going to wash this and then we'll maybe start getting some of the silver out. So I think we went for mithril silver last time. Truth be told, I can't really remember, but we'll find out. We'll see. We'll see in a moment if it is the right one. Give it a good shake again. Make sure that all that medium gets mixed in. There we go. That silver in there. First thing we'll do is we'll move to a smaller brush. We'll leave that one to soak for now. We do need a smaller brush for this next bit. Oh, do I go for the really teeny tiny one? No, I don't think so. I don't think it needs to be quite that small. I will, however, wet that. Give it a little dry. That one I'm actually not going to use because I made a really big mistake and accidentally got glue on it. So now it's a little bit the bristles are a bit knackered basically now. Okay. We have our silver. And we can. Let's just put a little bit on to test and see if it is the same one. No, I think it is. I honestly remember, but we will see. And now I am starting to go over, much like on the other one. If it would focus a bit better. There we go. I am starting to, you can see now, add some of the silver to it, to those edge bits, and to really make the armor pop. Okay. Particularly as it's hot as well, you might find that your brush dries out whilst you're using it, and so it is important to keep. That's what I keep forgetting to do. I'm getting the bristles are splitting a bit at the end, which makes it a bit harder to paint, and it's because it's too dry. So I keep having to remember to just dip it in the water. Okay, so already you can see that we're adding in some of the finer details now. And already you can start to see, I mean, you could before, but those similarities between this one and the other one are starting to come through already. Oh, we've gone out of focus. Let's refocus, please. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. There we go. Not perfect focus, but it'll do. Well, it won't. I will try and get it better in a second. I was just dipping my paint, dipping my brush in some more paint. There we go. Nope, nope. Come on, camera. Don't play these games with me. It's too warm for this. Oh my goodness. Pick a focus point, camera. Stop changing whenever I move my hand. We're gonna play. We're gonna play. We're gonna play. Well, you've been doing good so far. I've been the main problem, but don't let me down now. Every time I move it into focus, it then refocuses and it's slightly out of focus. Look, they just did it again. Super duper annoying. I'm not sure what it's actually trying to focus. I mean, it's probably actually just trying to focus on this. So what might actually be easier is if we swivel the actual model around in here. We'll do that. There we go. Okay. Right, yeah, we'll stick with that for now. Oh, this side is actually quite tough because there's only a teeny tiny little bit. And I've gone over the lines. But again, if you remember, I did that with the other model last week. That's completely fine. So we can just go back over the bronze. It's a darker colour than the silver, so it actually shouldn't really matter too much. We do go over. There we go. We can see that starting to look more and more like the same colour scheme of the model we did last week. Okay. This bit might be harder to see, as unfortunately the crossbow caster's shadow on this bit that I'm painting, I'm just doing more of those silver outlined edges on the bits of plate. And I've definitely not stuck within the lines, but that's fine. That's what the second layer of paint is for when we get to it. Okay. So again, just not worrying. All that much. Oh, we've gone out of focus again. There we go. I'm now doing that sort of loin clothy looking bit area. It's obviously not a loin cloth, but just as a point of reference. That's the bit that I'm doing currently. really wants to focus on this and not the model, which is super annoying. Let's try and just swivel it around a bit. There we go. Oh, and again, slipping out focus. It was going so well. I don't know why it suddenly started to just keep refocusing, but that's okay. Like I'm not gonna get super hung up about it. I might in the break, which will be in about 25 minutes. Might try and have a little go, and then after the break, we'll hopefully do like skin tone, hair, second layer, and crossbow, and base, and then we'll be done. Oh, it sounds so simple when I state it like that, but it's actually still a fair amount to go. Got to do those edges again, making sure not to forget them. So that our model has depth. And on this side as well, we need to do long here. Again, I've done a terrible job there of actually staying in between the lines because I need to wet my brush again. That's better. There we go. Okay, so that is, I think, and shall we do the boots on this one? Yeah, let's do the boots on this one, just to see what it looks like. Like I said earlier, you know, we can experiment a bit. We can just see what looks good. Might look terrible. That's okay. The fact is that we tried, we had a go, we saw what it looked like, and decided no. Don't ever abandon a model though. If you really do think you have, I've actually not had this happen to me yet. If you ever get really stuck, don't abandon it. It's part of, I think, the learning process. There's a lot to be said about failure. Okay, failure is one of the greatest tools we have to learn from. And if you see a failure through to the end, then you can learn the most from that experience. You see what I mean? If you start to go wrong and then you just throw in the towel and say, I'm just going to not do this more, I'm going to throw it in the bin or whatever, or it'll just go in my, failure pile. Not that I imagine many people have a failure pile, but you know what I mean. Then you won't you won't learn from that, and you're more likely to make the same mistakes that you made that got you to that point in the first place. So there is something to be said about just making sure. That looks quite good, I actually think that the shoes with the bit of silver on it looks quite nice. So that might be something that I go back and do on the other model. Yeah. Right, so this lady's got runes, she's got a horn on her belt. She hasn't got any pouches or little sacks or whatever, or bags on hers, so don't need to worry about that. But what we can do, I forgot, I said it and then forgot completely about it, was those bits on the front of the hand that need to be bronzed. So I've just spotted it again when looking around. Again, this is going to be, because it's, actually you can see it on this, one. Or you would if the camera was playing fair. Oh, why? Oh, please don't go out of focus as soon as I move my hand. So yeah, you can sort of see it just coming out of that there. So just gonna add that paint on there. Same on the other side, and then we probably actually also need to add this one. You won't be able to see because of, oh, you might be able to. Yeah, you can actually from that angle. Where I'm just gonna sneak some paint on there. Awesome. Then I'm going to add some silver to the sort of gauntletty brace. No, the braces. Sorry, not gauntlets. These braces. You can see on the arms. Splash of silver along the edge. And then again, same on the other side. Okay. Nice. Okay. So next step then. Next step. Now what we'll do as well is we're actually going to add some silver to the very bottom of the braids on the hair because they do tuft up at the bottom. So much like the beard on the other one, we're going to just put a little bit of silver there and there, as though they are bound in like little silver scrunchies. I don't know. But yeah, just add that little bit of silver in there at the bottom. I think it helps. There's not really a need to do it at the top, as it's braided and plaited with itself, so there's nothing like holding it there or anything like that. Ooh. Oh, that's just slipping out a little bit. Let's move it back in. There we go. Okay. So next. What do we do next? I tell you what, we'll mix some of that silvery colour with some black again and we'll do the runes nice and quick. Get that done and out the way. That's really straightforward to do. Just need that dark and silvery colour. I've just quickly mixed up. And then we can quickly get those runes painted. And again, they'll really pop once we add the wash. And that wash can sink in to the actual runes on the stone or metal. I'm painting it a metallic colour. I imagine that there's sort of more metallic-y runes. Or perhaps just a shiny stone, I don't know. That in there, that'll do. One at the front as well. We'll quickly get that one done. And there's a bit of one just there covered by the hair as well. So we'll do that. Then that is the runes done, I think. And then what we can do as well is we'll use that same coloration just like we did last week. Oh, or did we? Now I'm looking at this other one here. I'm just trying to figure out. Ah, so it is the brighter silver. So those tabs at the bottom of the leather we did in the brighter silver colour and then just dark washed it. So I'll wash that off. We'll go back to the original mithril silver. There we go. Just going to go round, painting each of those tabs. I have to say, I absolutely love the metallic paints. I honestly think they look amazing. I'm probably going to buy some more. I want like gem colours and stuff. Which you can do, to be fair. You can just take the silver and add other colours into it, but you start to lose some of the shimmer because it's a slightly different consistency to the other paints. Because the way they make it, so that because they have to, it's from what I can gather, I could be entirely wrong here when I'm saying this, but I think it's largely just like glitter in the paint. But obviously, they have to have some sort of suspension medium so that the glitter doesn't just sink to the bottom, and the suspension medium is what modifies the actual consistency of the paint. Nearly there now. And there we go. Okay, let's get that back in focus. Yep, there you go. You can now see going around. We've got those silver tabs there at the bottom. Right, now there is a belt, which I'll do in that dark brown that we mixed up earlier. Again, trying to keep it in the shot for you guys. What I'm doing here. Just trying to go around and get all the pieces of that belt. So I'm also at this point going to going to paint the actual brown holder part of the horn on, so that's easier to do later. And we can just go over it again if we get any of the actual cream coloured stuff on it. The front, we've got where the belt hangs, just around there. Apologies, it's gone out of focus. There we go. I'm just trying to do a bit. Let's give it a little swivel. The bit that's just under like here. It's a bit finicky again. And it's in shadow because of the arms. You're not really gonna, I can't really create a good view of it, I'm afraid. Suffice to say, it's the belt and belt buckle that I am doing, basically. Just make sure you scan all the way around the waist, looking for any points or areas. Apologies, it's probably not actually in shot. I've really got to get close to this bit. There we go. And that's the belt mostly done. Right. Okay. There we go. That belt is now starting to come on. So what else do we need to do? We need to do skin the crossbow, go over any bits that we've gone outside of the lines. And you know what? To be honest, we're actually nearly done. Oh, and the horn, of course, as well. So we've got about 10-15 minutes until the break. So shall we spend that going over bits that we've gone over? Actually, no, that doesn't make any sense. We'll do as much of the first layer as we can. So, what kind of brown do we want? I'm gonna get an owlbear brown. And then we can probably use this as the colour and get out our other brush because we can use broader strokes here. We're going to start doing the crossbowing. That's way too much paint on the end there. Ooh. There you go. So you can see I'm just starting to do the wood of the crossbow. Remember, we can go over, like for example, where the string is attached. We can go over that later. We'll probably use the skeleton bone for the string, I'll be honest with you, because it just has a nice, it's just enough, the skeleton bone colour is just enough off-white that it looks quite natural. Like it's not like bright in your face shiny. And string is not either. Bowstrings especially. So again, unfortunately it keeps going out of focus because of where this is, but I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. And again, I might try a different setup next week. We'll just have to see. Or I might just modify this one, see if I can maximize it. Like I said, I did have a few issues before this stream actually that I did iron out. Mostly, anyway. But it means that I can't, like, because of those issues, I couldn't really fine tune the setup that I wanted. Because I want to stick to my schedule. I want to make sure that I'm maximizing all the time that I can. Again, I'm just going to colour in. I keep saying colour in. I don't know why I keep saying that. I'm not colouring in. I'm painting. I'm just going to paint this like over where the string attaches to the wood, because I know that I can come back later and go over that. No problem. It is going to go out of focus here, but I'll show you now what I'm doing and then do it quickly. As I'm just doing that underside of the crossbow. And I do have to turn the model like upside down to do this, so it's just out of the camera shot. Well, it's not actually. Actually, that's tell a lie. You can see it. There we go. So now you can see I am starting to do that crossbow. A nice brownie colour. It's about to get quite finicky. I'm not going to worry. because I know any mistakes I make, I will be able to fix them. And we always want to, if we can, steer into a mistake so as to not draw attention to it too much. Okay, so again, just focusing on the crossbow currently. Remembering that the stock, don't know, you should be able to see it, I think. The stock comes out just under the right arm. The camera, there we go. So yeah, you can see it there. I've just started to paint it. There's still some grey spots on it. Yeah, I'm just gonna get that done. So now, just trying to do these hard to get to pot spots just inside, on the inside of the crossbow, where it's near to the chest. Trying to avoid where the fingers and hands are if I can, knowing that I can just go back over them if I can't. So not worrying. Right, okay, that's good. That's most of the crossbow done. The bolt, you might you'll notice when I refocus it again in a second, the bolt itself I've actually left because I want to do that a different colour. Okay. And the dark wash will really make the wooden colour on the crossbow pop when it comes to doing that later. Okay. Trying to think if there's anything that I really want to do before I take a quick break. And what we can do is actually add some of the bolts in on the crossbow. So again, this is going to be difficult to see, but there are some parts on here where you can see like a bolt. So again, all you want to do is just dot some paint on, and you can always go back over it. In the brown, I'm where we've maybe gone over the lines or whatever. And that. You can already see I've not managed to stick in the line on that bolt, but that's fine. I'll go back over it with some brown in a little bit. Okay. And what I'm actually going to do is take some of that silver, a little bit of black, mix it up so it's darker, not as dark as the what they called, the runes. I'm going to do the tip of the bolt in this colour. And then I'm actually going to mix some white in with the brown to make to do the actual shaft of the bolt. And then I'm going to take a break because I need to get a drink. There we go. White in there. Take a dollop of that brown. Splash of the white. Just to really create like a different tone or shade of brown. I'm going to swap to the smaller brush here because this is quite small. I think that was probably my mistake with where I've gone over on the bolts, is that I was using a bigger brush. I forgot to go back to the small one. Now is that different enough? Okay, I think I'm not convinced I've got the right tone there for the bolt. I don't know if it's too similar. You can't really see it, but I don't know if it's too similar to the surrounding area. So I might come back to that once it's dried, do another layer of something over it, maybe. And then for the fletchings on the arrow, we'll use some of that orange, actually. Orange, mix it in with some black, maybe? No, too much. Too much. Oh no, I think I am just going to get a red here because it's not mixing how I thought it would, and that's okay. Doesn't always go the way that you envision it. That's fine. A lot of it is about experimenting, about just making sure that you're trying different options. But I'm going to go with red. Only need a splash. Not much at all. Teeny tiny bit of that red. Get rid of some of that excess. And then just on where the fletchings stick out here, put some of that red colour on the fletchings. And again, because they're they look feathered, as soon as we get that dark wash in there, it's really going to make that pop, because we'll see the fletching a lot more clearly. Oops, made a mistake there. But that's alright, like I said. Don't worry about mistakes. You can fix them later. Okay, nice. And right there is where we're going to take a little break. And then I'll be back. So, I will see you guys in a bit. Hello, hello, hello. I've left my fan on. Okay, I have successfully managed to chill my room slightly more. Let's return. Oh, that's the wrong one. Whoopsie. And let's return to the correct one. There we go. That's better. Right, guys. So, where were we? We had just done some red on the fletching. We'll do the strings. That's what we'll do next. So, I should have put that into soak. That was foolish of me. So, that one's probably too big. That's the smaller one. There we go. So, what we're going to do then, we're going to get some of that skeleton bone. Give it a good shake. Give it a good shakerino. So that we can do the string. And we can also do the horn as well. That's something else that we haven't done yet and need to do. So we do the string, we'll do the horn, then we'll do the skin. Then we'll go over everywhere that we think needs something doing. Going over again where I've like sort of gone out of the lines. Then, to be honest, I mean, obviously we've got to do the base, but the base does not take long. We'll do the base, and then we'll do a wash, and that should finish us up nicely. So, in our small brush, get some of this paint. And let's just paint that string. Remember as well, 3D, so make sure you do the under bits, the side bits. Make sure there's a nice coating all over it. Right, and then this is where we coloured it in brown earlier, but we can go back over where the string is wrapped around the wood. We can do that, easy peasy. And we'll do this side of the string as well. Again, doing my best to make sure it is covered on all sides. Again, apologies for the angle, but sometimes I can't, unfortunately I cannot get the camera set up so that it can catch every angle that I paint in. But I do my best, I do my gosh darn best, and that's all any of us can do, really. We just got ourselves and our gumption, our gumption, what we're capable of. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going over a little bit, but that's fine. I ain't going to worry. And look, you can already see, look, that is looking mighty fine. What? Oh, yes, the horn. That's what I was going to do next. The horn. Okay. The horn is at the front, if you remember, on this model. It's on the back on the other one. There you go. You can see it. See that there? So the horn is on the front this time. So we're just going to get some of this skeleton bone creamy off-white and put it on. Remember, doesn't matter about staining the lines. It's just getting that first layer on. There we go. There we go. So now you can see we've got that horn done just underneath there. So we've done the horn. We did say we were going to come back to that bolt because we weren't super happy with how it was looking. So I think what we should do is maybe, I wonder if we could go for just like a much paler brown. I've got this brown called Bugbear Brown. I'm just wondering if maybe that's what that arrow shaft needs to make it stand out a bit more. I'm not 100% certain, but we won't know unless we try. So here goes. Got the brush, give it a little dry, dip it in the paint. There we go. I think that's the colour that we wanted. Just subtly stands out. That's all. That's all we needed, for it to just subtly stand out. Okay. So now we've done that, we can move on to skin. So I've got that ruddy skin colour, which I thought was a great pick last week for our last model. This one, I think it worked out pretty well. Like when you look at like the, if we can get it in focus, like the elbow joint and stuff. There we go. And the hands. I think it's a great colour match for a dwarf and for the armour and stuff. So we're going to do that again. Okay, a little teeny little dollop of that. And let's get going on the skin. Apologies. Oh, I had a tickle then. So let's do the easy bit first, which is probably going to be the face, just because it's the largest skin area to paint, really. Hopefully it will focus itself. There we go. Nope. No, no, no. Stay. Stay. Good. Good. Again, I'm going to be kind of liberal here. We'll go over those details again later on. Apologies, it has... Oh, there we go, coming back into focus. In the front of that neck. They are actually wearing a necklace, so we'll go over that in a silver or something maybe later. And now, just trying to get this covered. Kind of looks weird because it's sort of blending with the hair a little bit, but don't worry, the dark wash will help with that later on. This might actually have to be one where we might come back to it because I don't think in this stream there'll be enough time for the dark wash to dry and then for us to do the really minor details like the eyes. So we could actually start next weekends with that potentially. We'll have to see how we get on. Just do that. Then we'll do the elbow. Ooh. I think it might be a case of I need to swivel it. I need to swivel it again. Just give it a little turn. Let it close. There we go. So I think a lot of the problem is literally just the shape of this. I might have one that's a little bit smaller, like a holder, that is. Like it doesn't have like the long extended bits, because this is for like multiple sizes. Obviously these bits here are for like massive models. And we do have some bigger models. The two that I've done on these streams have been sort of standard size. Like, actually, I think to be fair, they're hero size, so they're 32 mil. Which I prefer, to be honest. I just prefer all my miniatures to be that size. Now we got some skin here. Make sure that's nice and coloured in. Coloured in, I keep saying it. I don't know where I've got coloured in from. I'm certainly not colouring anything in. I'm painting. I suppose it kind of works though. And then there's like a thumb on the inside here. You can just see that tiny little line. I'm going to see if I can get it. Oh, there we go. I think I got it. And I stayed in the lines, which is a bonus. Nice. And we're going to do the other hand. That one there. Okay, and I think that's the flesh, sort of the fleshy parts. Let's get this in proper focus. So there we go. Starting to look more lifelike now that we've got that first layer on. Obviously, there's some, we still need to do some like highlights and stuff, and the dark wash will really help with that. But only after the dark wash would I want to start adding things like the eyes, because this is actually going to be quite interesting. I'm going to use this for me to try and train myself to do eyes, because that is hands down my weakest area of miniature painting, is painting eyes, because it's so tiny. I've even considered, like, I've got really, really good vision. Never needed glasses or anything like that. But even I'm considering getting some of those magnifying glasses that you can get for miniature painting. That some of the bigger streamers and stuff that do this use, just because I want that detail. I want to be able to really like, like, yes, I can see this a lot better now. But it's a process, and I'm not made of money, so I can't get any yet. But it's something. It's just one of those things that is definitely on the back burner. Okay, okay. So we have now, I think, coloured in pretty much all, apart from the base, all the grey areas. So what we could do now is go over a lot of those areas that need that second layer, that need stuff going back in. So I'm going to stick with my small brush, because these are going to be small fixes. And then we'll start with our bronze, and we'll start just putting in another layer of blondes, new color, cross between blonde and bronze, like on here, where I went out with the lines when I was doing those silver highlights on the shoulder. So I'm just going back over those edges. And I can see that there's some silver that needs to be added on there as well. Just to go back over it, and again on this side. Just sticking really, because it's not, the middle bit's fine, it's the right on the very outside edge where my paintbrush has maybe just slipped over. And that's all I'm doing at the moment. It's just those little corrections there. There's some on the boot as well. I've gone quite far out there, but again, not a problem. Easy to correct, and it's corrected. Yeah, really easy. Like, it doesn't take a lot And that's something that you can quite easily be like, oh no, the shoes look terrible because I've done this, I've not stuck in the lines, I've made a bit of a pig's ear of it. But it's not, it's never really, it's never as bad as you think. Okay, it's easy, I think, to catastrophize, particularly when you feel like, I don't know, like pressure or whatever to do well, whether it's pressure you place on yourself or like for me here now, like pressure of a potential audience, whilst I'm painting. Okay, now, oh, we actually I think run out of the silver, so we need some more. Where's the mithril silver gone? Mithril, there it is, mithril silver. Another quick little shake. Sit that in there so people can sort of have a look at it and how it's going at the moment. Okay. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Get that silver. And then I'm going to go where I've actually managed to get either skin colour, skin tone, or bronze on here. So I'm going to have to really delicately, already made another mistake. That's fine. That's fine. It's just lots of little adjustments until you've got it exactly how you like it. That's the best way to think about it. That's what you're doing. Lots and lots of adjustments to get it exact, to make your vision quest come true. Okay. Over those. I might need to wet my brush again. I might just get away with doing this last little bit here. I want a little silver rim around there. Then that necklace. This necklace. I need a smaller brush still. I'm going to have to go for like the smallest brush I've got, I think. It is hard to use the small brushes as well because there's so few bristles on them that if you, well, yeah, there's just so few bristles. So now you can kind of see around the neck, there's like that bracelet. And that's what I'm going to attempt to do very carefully now. Remembering, I'm just going to go over with another layer of pink, skin tone that is, where I've gone over. That's that done, that's that fine. Where else needs some more? So we can move back to our sort of mid brush we've been using. We'll go back to the bronze and start doing bits. Loop my hand through there. There we go. We can see it easier. We'll swivel it in as well so that you can see that I'm just going to do this bit here. I'm just going around the edges. No, it's not an ideal angle. Just going around those edges, making sure that there's no silver where it shouldn't be and no bronze where it shouldn't be. And then we're actually going to return to the brown. Because that's probably where we've made some of our biggest mistakes, is on the brown. You can actually see where the silver is overlapping there. So just like that, problem's fixed. Just carefully going around. There we go. That's that done, and then this side as well. A little bit more brown on the brush. And we're just going to have it there. And then same for the bottom where we've gone over with our darker brown colour. We're just going to put a nice layer of the light brown over it, completely fixing any of our mistakes. There we go. Okay. What else? What else do we need? So we're going to do the hair. We will go back over the... I actually might do that now. Just go back over some of the brown of the crossbow. Sorry, popped it out of shot because I had to get nice and close again. We're actually going to need some more brown as we have run out. I think we went for the owlbear brown here on the crossbow. I think so, yes. That looks right. Yeah, that is right. So go over any mistakes again. Just using tiny amounts of paint at a time to achieve the desired effect, whatever that may be. Okay. That coloured in there. I have to be really delicate here, where I've been a bit too generous with the silver when doing the bolts. Just there we go. There we go. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to quickly go over the bread as I've noticed that some of the bowstring colour, the skeleton bone, has gone over some of the fletchings. So just a tiny amount of red to touch this up. And that's what a lot of it is. Once you've got all of your like main colours on and you've sort of reached the point where you're doing details, a lot of what you're doing is just corrections. And this can be a long process. You know, you can spend more time doing the corrections than you can painting the rest of it. But, you know, that's okay. Like, don't fret about that. You know, it takes time. Think of it as a test of patience. The more time you put in, the greater the reward will be when that reward eventually comes, which is the finished product. And you'll see it, you'll notice it. If you spend the time, it will pay back in dividends. Like you will see the difference. Even more so, you'll be prouder of what you've achieved. That's one of the reasons. I actually was talking to one of my friends last night. And I think he was a bit similar. Like he's been looking for a long time for a hobby, skipping hobbies as well, just hobby skipping, trying different things, looking for something that engages you. Because I found that I had this conversation with a different friend as well recently that a lot of hobbies they have like the active part of the hobby. Like let's take I'll take beer brewing. I've brewed my own ale before, okay, and the active part of the hobby that's like the doing bit is the actual like cleaning out of all of it, sterilizing the big tank, getting your hops, mixing it together, boiling water to make sure it's sterile, using that, adding the sugar, adding the hops, adding the yeast, adding whatever, and then you sort of put it all together, put it somewhere out of the way, and then you just leave it. it's more it's fun. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it, and I'll definitely be doing it again at some point in my life. I can see that because I've made my own wine as well, and that was fun. But that's most of the active part of that hobby's process done. After that, it's just 2 to 3 weeks of waiting and occasionally checking every couple of days, and then eventually bottling it. And again, really, really fun. But I've been looking for a hobby that keeps me focused in on it for hours at a time. And I feel like I've really found that with miniature painting. It's why, even though I've only been doing it about a month, I decided when decided, I'm going to start streaming some stuff. I'm going to have a miniature painting stream because I find it so therapeutic, and like as someone that focuses too much a lot, it's really nice to have something that can make use of how much focus I sort of put out. I guess that sounds weird, but do you know what I mean? Like it's nice to know that this will keep me occupied. And to go back to my original point, I was talking to my friend last night, and he'd started telling me, about how he's recently started doing digital painting. He plays Dungeons and Dragons like me, and he's just started sort of drawing portraits of characters he's made using like digital painting. And he literally was saying, I find it so relaxing and therapeutic because I can just concentrate on it and it doesn't burn me out. It doesn't particularly tire me out, but it gives me that sense of completion, of achieving something. And I was like, yeah, I 100% understand. That's exactly the same reason as to why I paint minis, and I've been enjoying it. It keeps you occupied for a long period. The active part of the hobby is this, and it will, like, I mean, look, we're what, nearly 3 hours into this stream, and we've still got a little bit to go. Still, not loads. We're past the bulk of it now, but nonetheless, we've had. Oh, we lost some of the focus there. But nonetheless, though, we've had like it's a process, a very fun one, and so suffice to say, everyone should do miniature painting. I know that's not feasible, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. That's fine. But I implore everyone and anyone to find a hobby or a pastime that challenges them, that trains some sort of skill, and gives you that sense of doing something. So, like, if I do nothing else today, I'll be happy knowing that we have gone from that grey model that we started with to even this. Like, even if I were to just stop now, oh, it doesn't want to play. There we go. So even if I were to stop now, it's not finished, but it's also not bad, you know? And that is sometimes enough. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go and do some of that. Add some red highlights to the hair now. So we've still got a load of orange from earlier after that sort of disaster of it all just spewing out all over my color palette, which I don't think I actually drew much attention to at the time, but that is what happened. I've got a huge splodge of orange because it was just spewing out of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mix a load of red in there, so we get this sort of orange in. So we sort of get this slight orangey reddish color. Then I'm not even going to use like loads and loads of it, maybe just tiny, tiny amounts. Get rid of the excess and just start like almost like dry brushing a little bit, but it's not proper dry brushing. The brush is certainly not dry. And all I'm doing is I'm just peppering some of this orangey colour onto the hair. And again, not super worrying if there are bits that aren't covered here, because we want that natural deviation in the hair colour. That even my hair, which is dark brown, there are parts of it that are paler, there are parts of it that are really dark. There's even bits that are a little bit ginger, mainly my beard, but still, like, you get these fluctuations in the coloration of your hair, and it's important to make sure that you get that across in your miniatures as well. Also, the hair does need to be darker anyway so that it contrasts with the skin a bit more. So this is serving more than one purpose. I've also noticed we went over, got some silver on the hair. So I'm just gone back over that as well. Let's plug this in. There we go. So you can see already the hair is starting to look a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more lively, a little bit less two-dimensional. And all I've done is just overlaid a sort of reddish, much more reddish orange in there to help with that. And hopefully this should be what transforms the front as well. Makes it pop a bit more, because at the moment it blends in far too much with the skin. That is not something that we want. Okay. I'll just do that. And then on this side, make sure we're following. Sorry, it's going out of focus. But what I'm doing basically is I'm trying to follow. Can you see the hairline there? I'm just trying to follow with my brush right around the edge of that hairline there. So that we've got a clear cut off where the hair ends and the skin begins. And that already, personally anyway, I think is looking a lot better, a lot more vibrant and natural in its cut. There's still some bits that need it, like I've just spotted one there. On this side here, let's get it on the angle. Let's start just adding in little flecks of detail. A little bit more in these bits that are maybe a little bit more tucked away. We should not forget though, just because of that. Went over a little bit there, so we'll need to go back to the silver in a minute. That is absolutely fine, no problem at all. Right, okay, so that orange ginger hair, really starting to look more vibrant and pop a bit. A lot more like what we've got going on with this guy's ginger beard, and that dark wash again will drag the tone down a bit and highlight the features of the hair, like the braids and stuff, and that'll look really nice. Okay, right, that's that bit done, I think. Is there any more hair I've missed? No, I don't think so. Maybe in this very top corner there, but that's fine. I've just gone over that again. So really starting to come to life a bit now, I think, which is nice. Good, starting to come together. So we're going to go back to the silver, give that a good wash actually. The other thing as well is having a towel. It's really easy to like wipe your brushes clean after you've given them a little wash and then dip them back in that water or whatever. I wipe off excess water, excess paint, etc. Just makes the whole process a lot easier. Made a bit of silver. And just so carefully going over. And there's that mistake we made. Wonder if we can get it to focus. It's hard to see. You can just sort of see a bit of it catching the light, but there's some orange just run off onto that silver. So we'll just go over it again. Might need an extra layer. The orange is still coming through. So put an ample amount on. Right, and then another. There we go. There we go. I'm just taking a look at the other miniature to sort of almost try and compare a little bit and see where we're at. But I think we're on the right lines. Oh, we need some more of the skin tone now. Where the silver is spilled onto it from earlier. I've just spotted another place where that's happened. And that's fine. I mean, there's parts that I've spotted on the one I've finished, like of the other one from last week, where I was like, oh, I missed a tiny little bit there. And it's just when you get the time, if you really think it's a glaring mistake, you just go back over it. No problem. Okay, so I think we should maybe add another layer of that silver. The arrowhead. 2. Then, is there much else that we need to do? Because now might be a good time for us to do the base, which gives the all the paint that we've currently got on here time to dry. Then we can dark wash and probably actually then call it there for the week, because we'll have to wait. That the dark wash takes a good half an hour to an hour to fully dry because it's very watery. And so I'm not going to make you guys sit and wait on the stream for that. That would be ridiculous. So what I'll do is we'll get to that dark wash stage, and then next week we'll maybe do last minute highlights on these two before maybe trying another model. And we'll go for something different next time as well. I just really like the idea of having this twinned couple of Dwarven fighters in a matching uniform. I just wanted to do that. Yeah. Right, what else? Oh, yes, base. Base. So this one, I think we just sort of went with like a greyish, almost maybe a bit of a metallic-y colour, and then dark washed it. We didn't go with anything fancy. So I might just do that again, to be honest. Easy, straightforward. Ooh, there's like a bit of a fallen pillar. We'll do that last. Now, I'm going to get some black, dump it over here, load of white, dump it around here, and see what kind of grey we can create. I want it darker than that. I've accidentally just created the colour of the resin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drop of black into it to bring the tone down. Several more shades. And then we should have a nice dark grey colour. Yeah, that's better. And then we can just doing the base. And there's no need to take great amounts of care. Obviously, don't go drawing all over your model, but equally we just want to slap on this base layer. And then we'll maybe do, I think we're going to do that. There's like a bit of a collapsed pillar or something there. So we might do that in the skeleton bone, just so there's a little feature on the yeah, so I think that's mostly on there now. Now we can let that dry, and we can get that skeleton bone colour and just draw that over here. I'm going over because there's something wrapped around it, but that's fine, because what I'll do is I'll actually just colour over on top of that as well later on. Been trying to be really careful because obviously the paint is still fresh on the base, and trying not to let it mix too much. Probably should have waited a few minutes, but hey ho. Whoops. It would appear that one of our lights has just run out of batteries, unfortunately, and I completely forgot during the break to get another light, so sorry. But that's absolutely fine, I think. To be fair, one of the lights, the one that's actually got is plugged into a socket, looks absolutely fine. We got that there now. Base. Looking pretty good. Around, going back over now in the grey, and some of those bits where I've maybe spilled the cream over. Just around there, around the feet. I'm also going to have to go back over the actual feet in bronze, because I can see I've already got some of the bronze on there. Which is annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Now I shall move on. Now, whilst that's drying, we can probably get a bigger brush and do the base real quick. We'll get some black. Shake that up. Get that black in there. Probably going to need more than that, actually. And then wet this. Take it out of the holder. It's easier to do it freehand. Unfortunately, it means that the focus might not be super great here as my hand is moving it around and stuff, but we're just going to start putting on that black around the edges. Give it that sort of neat look the black gives it. Being careful not to touch any of the areas there. Let's just move that out of the shot a little bit. It tries to focus, so it focuses hopefully in a better place. There we go. Just going around the edge. This bit is relatively easy. You're just going around the edge. Now I have noticed that this base is a little bit damaged, but that's fine. With the black, actually helps here because any sort of anomalies or bobbly bits on the base will be sort of lessened. It won't be as noticeable because of the black colour, sort of removing some of that depth, and then just going over the bottom, nice and liberal there with our paint, like that. And then just quickly scanning around the edges, making sure that all the way around we've got, so you can see some of the damage actually now. Like here, there's a bit that's chipped off, but that's okay. You know, your miniatures aren't always perfect. That doesn't mean they can't look good though when they're painted. Now, we really just sort of need to hold this for a minute or two to just let that paint start to set. We can always touch it up as well afterwards if we think that some of the black has come off. I'm going to try and maybe slide this back into here now. And I can already see some of the black will probably come off after that, but that's fine. That's fine. Right. What we also might do is there's like a ribbon or something wrapped around that pillar bit, and I might do that in like a, what size brush? Probably want a small one here. I might do that in red. Again, you might be able to see, it comes into focus, what I'm doing here around that sort of pillar bit that's on the actual base. And I can already tell that paint hasn't fully set because it's starting to mix a little bit. That's okay. You can just add a little bit more of the paint that you're using to wash out the paint that's seeping in from underneath. Nearly done with this. Few more. It's sort of like it maybe had a banner or something wrapped around it, or some other like cloth or whatever. Not cloth, but like, well, cloth-based fabric, obviously. It was just wrapping around this pillar, this collapsed pillar when it fell. So that's why I've sort of tried to add in some colour. Now the difficulty is adding in the colour on this side. I think I've got it. And that's that done. And again, a lot of these things will just start to pop that little bit more once we add the dark wash. Okay. Awesome. I'm happy with that. So now it is going to be a case of us really just doing some finishing touches here and there on this this model now. So, which brown was it? I think it was this one. Rigid leather. Go over some bits that I've spotted, but I definitely in need of a touch-up. We'll do it along here. Done. Colour that bit where the brown's gone over. You also need to go over in that dark brown colour now as well. As well as okay. Oh yeah, the dark brown. That's what we need now, isn't it? We need dark. Okay, so I think we actually have some of that left. Just a little bit. It's dried out a little bit what we had, but it might just be enough. We'll find out shortly. I might have to mix some more. Again, no problem. Take a chunk of our there we go. Nice and focused. Or was anyway. Take some of that into black. Make that dark brown colour. Nice and rich. And just go over some areas where just needs that extra layer. Okay, and I've seen a bit where we need to go back over with the old, oh, what's it called? Crossbow as well. I'm just right now, I'm checking the really fine details here between the silver tabs at the bottom of there to make sure there's no silver running over or anything, but it actually looks pretty good. Tempted to just leave that first layer as it is. I have, however, seen where we need to add some of the paler brown to give that a quick wash. And that paler brown. Going over there like so. Sorry, did that off camera, because I'm a fool. But that's fine. Okay. So, as I said, I get that brown again and just fill in this bit at the back that I have missed. Crossbow. I have to carefully slide my brush up there. I find it's best if you've got to get it in to push the brush in and then pull it back, stroking the sort of surface towards you. So like a pull back brush, because you have more control, and instead of just prodding and ended up prodding like a different part of the model that you can't quite see. Like it's just, I think it's just a bit smoother, a bit better to do it that way. That is that done. We're just doing last minute fillers here and there before we move on to our dark wash. Wash that. We spilt some reds. We're going to get some of that grey again. Over there. That's that sorted. So we've done that. Now there's a few teeny tiny bits of grey that I think are where we've missed out skin. So I'm just going to really carefully try and get some of the skin that we've missed coloured like so. Okay, that's that done. We want some more bronze and a few bits. Again, trying my best to stay in the lines. But if I don't, that's fine. Just means it might take a little bit longer. It's not going to be the end of the world. Yeah, I'm quite happy with how that is looking. It's going to be out of shot again for a second just whilst I go over a particularly difficult bit, but I think I've done that now. Okay. I'm almost tempted, just doing some last minute checks. We can seriously consider doing the dark wash in a minute. Once this final layer of paint is dried that I'm just putting on. Last thing to do is go over some of the silver bits, and then I think we're ready for the dark wash. Okay. Over a couple of these bits of silver. Again. The clasps at the top of the plate. Completely off camera, like a muffin. One day I'll get the camera set up right. Promise. All right. Take some more of that silver. We're going to make some more of that darker silver colour just to go over. Maroons one more time. There we go. Do that there. Okay. Get some of our dark brown. Just going back over. The straps that hold the horn on her. On her waist. We'll do that there. some more spots of pale brown. And this is all fine because we're just giving time for other bits to dry. And yeah, we're adding more bits to dry, but we're getting to a point now where there's so little. I'm making such small adjustments that they'll only take, a minute to dry, maybe, because. There we go. Bronze on the shoes, where I got the grey. Up there. Again, these are all now literally like last minute adjustments. I'm really just making really tiny changes now. All the big bits are done. Now it's more of a perfectionist's game. You stop when you're finally happy. Okay. Now I'm gonna go back over and just blob some more silver on each of these to make sure we've got a nice strong layer that's not started to blend in with other stuff. And then we'll go between it with the dark brown, and then I think we're ready for the wash. There we go. Go between it with the dark brown. Then we'll wait a minute or two, and then we'll go in with our wash. Right. I think that is ready for its wash. Ready to have a wash. Now literally the last. I think this might be the last bit now. I am just going over around where I've dotted the bolts onto the crossbow. Again, this is something I might have to do off camera because it's really tiny, but you can sort of see like there's a bolt like just here where the silver's gone around it. I might be able to do it on camera actually. if it stays in focus for long enough. Okay. Oh, that's the wrong brown. I know it's not. And then here. Like so. Apologies that this last bit is off camera. I just need to get really close because we're now into the fine, fine detail. There we go. Now we can start getting our wash ready. So we want a nice big thick brush. I'm not actually going to go for the biggest though. Or maybe I will. Maybe I will. We're going to go for which one? The shadow wash. I think that's what we used on the other one, was the shadow wash. So we'll use this one. Okay. This will probably be the last bit that we do today. And then we'll do details next week. Yeah, so wet our brush a little bit. Get a load of this dark wash. And if you remember, I just said be liberal. Cover it everywhere. Brush everywhere. Okay? Really just brush everywhere. Let it seep into all of those corners and edges and all those parts, really. Yeah, particularly the hair, because we want those lovely highlights. We'll do the face as well, because hopefully that'll help make it a bit clearer for us when it actually comes to doing that. Now, it sometimes looks a bit when you're doing this bit. It sometimes is a bit like, oh my god, he's ruining the model. He's just colouring all this dark coloured stuff in there. But trust me, this stuff works miracles. Washes are the way forward. Remember that, folks. Washing is the way forward. Make sure we're covering that base as well. Now that is mostly done. Now all you need to do, get a piece of kitchen roll and lightly dab off any like big pools of excess anywhere. So I'm going to go for the face mainly, because we just want some of that dark wash in there. We're going to have to go over some of the hair highlights, I think, at the front, but that's okay. We'll do that once it's dried next week. Otherwise, a few dabs here and there. It's not just completely in there. You want to get up some of that excess. Okay, and you can already sort of see it working its magic in the way that it starts to make it like highlight bits, make it just seem a bit more real, if you like. But that is largely it for today, as now it's just a waiting game for the drying. I am just really quickly going to go over that base again, just the bits I can see. I'll probably do the base late on another point as well, just to make sure that it's properly coloured. I'm just working around these sort of grey edge bits here that I've missed with the black paint. So just go working your way all the way around, filling in any of those bits. Okay. Right. That is our model finished. Almost. So we'll do some last minute highlights next week. Some like finished touch, because you can see like the front of the hair, in fact, might be just dry enough for me to add a little bit of the red colouring back in, as that's washed out a little bit and we don't want that. Let's just get back some of that red highlight in there. Okay, and then I have, like a fool, spilt the red over. So this isn't ideal, but I'm doing this whilst it's whilst the wash is drying. But I do want to try and get this done correctly. I've done that. Dab off some of that excess paint, and then that's fine. We just need to wait for that to dry now, and then we'll have a go at doing the face next week. That is looking pretty good for 3.5 hours work. Pretty good. I'm happy with that. So, on that then, guys. I know we're a little bit early, but I'd rather these streams be longer and I finish earlier than set a time that's too short and us run over. So we're about 20 minutes early that we're going to stop today, but that is absolutely fine, because we have gotten to the point that we wanted to. So I'm going to call it there then. So this has been the Prince Paints. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've at least found it relaxing, listening to me babble on about painting technique and all that kind of thing. But yeah, thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next one. I'll be streaming tomorrow. I might go. I might do I might go back to our Cursed XCOM campaign and have another go, see if we can do anything with that, because it's not going well. Hopefully it'll go a bit better tomorrow, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys. This has been the Wile Prince on the Prince Paints. Thank you very much. We've now got two lovely looking, like matching uniformed soldiers, dwarven soldiers here. And the colour will shine a lot more. Once the wash has dried, the colours will, the metallic paints will shine a lot better. It's just a waiting game now. But thank you very much for joining me, guys, and I will see you in a bit. Take care, look after each other, and remember, stay hydrated and cool in this weather. I will see you in a bit, guys. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Oh, that wasn't the right one.